Welcome, everyone, to Coach's Corner here on the CompuSports Radio Network. I'm John Anderson, and just before we get into the show here, let me give you a brief description for those of you who have not heard this program before. Coach's Corner is a concept that actually goes into the strategies, philosophies, and the actual X's and O's that you may see on any given football game. And this week we're going to have on the phone accomplished clinic speaker Larry Beckish, and we're going to be talking option football during today's program. So get yourself a chair, get yourself something to drink. We're going to sit here in front of the fireplace and talk with Larry about option football. Back after this. This is our special guest's second appearance on the program. He's written the book, The Trap Option, 40 plus 60 equals option. Let's welcome back the option guru from Beaufort, South Carolina, Larry Beckish. How are you, sir?
Well, thank you. I'm really not a guru. I'm the old option dinosaur.
All right, let's scratch off guru and put an old option dinosaur. There we go. All right, that's corrected now.
Thank you.
All right, the last time that Coach Beckish and I sat here around the fireplace having a conversation, we were talking about the basic option concepts in which to build an option offense upon. We talked about the basic number system of an option offense. We talked about the essentials, the musts, if you will, that produces a successful option offense. And we talked about where the option alley is. We talked about the pitch. We talked about the pitch relationship. And now let's pick up where we left off the last time. How is an option quarterback's decision-making process coached from day one?
From day one, it's the most critical thing. It's to teach the quarterback the decision-making process. And it's very simple. The way I taught it was that when you're running a double option play, the decision's made when the play is called. And when the ball is snapped, what your thought is pitch, 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 pitch until they won't let me. So he doesn't have to think back and forth.
Now, is this decision based upon open space in front of him, or is it a predetermined decision?
Well, it'll be determined by his pre-snap read, and he'll have a good feeling of, and that's one thing that you want to do is don't put it in his mind, do I pitch it, do I keep it, do I pitch it, do I keep it, that he has to respond to the reaction of the defense, and he needs to do that by basically the pre-snap read.
All right, Coach, do you want to add anything more to that? Because I'm probably missing something out of this because I'm not an option guy, or is it really that simple?
Well, it's basically that simple. What makes it a little more difficult is a triple option play, because now he has to make a decision, do I hand it off, do I keep it, and then make another quick decision if he keeps it, whether he's going to pitch it or keep it himself. And to me, the real key to all this is the proper drills to do those things. That's critical.
And I'm sure that starts from day one as well.
Right from day one. And again, it's the number one thing you have to work on with an option quarterback, just like a passing quarterback, is to truly understand the defense and understand the numbering system, where number 3 is, where number 4 is. You know, those type of things. That's really, really critical. But it's not a lot of times as hard as in the passing game, because a lot of teams will have 20, 30, 40, 50 different pass routes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But in the option, it's not really that thick of a problem. It's pretty easy to teach the kids to understand, okay, on this play, number 87 is the option man. On this play, number 6 is the option man. And then go from there. That's what you got to teach them.
All right, I'm going to toss in this question on top of this because it seems relevant to the conversation. When the quarterback gets to the point, his decision point as far as pitch or keep, how close do you allow that defender to get to you before you make that decision and actually pitch the ball?
That is a great question. Usually what I told the quarterbacks, I wanted you to pitch the ball about an arm length and a half away from the option man. Like if you put your hand out to his chest 1.5 times, that's when I want the ball pitched. So we're basically talking 1.5 yards, 2 yards away from him. And the other thing you really have to teach the quarterback is the number one thing that he has to be concerned about every time he runs an option play. You know what that is? And he needs to think this the same way he thinks the decision-making process. Hard end, hard end, hard end. That somebody's going to come across the line of scrimmage to really assault him.
Well, you make that sound so violent. I like it.
Well, it is kind of violent because a lot of people will, try to take on the quarterback. And what I taught the quarterback, you're always thinking hard end, hard end. And when you pitch the ball, if he's coming hard, block him. Or step aside. But I worked on both things in drills. I would say, I'd use a dummy and be the hard end and come and say, okay, block him. And the quarterback kind of dropped to his knee and block him. And next time I'd say, okay, step aside. And then he would step inside or outside to miss the option man. It's just stuff you got to work on.
All right, this next question I'm going to have to ask is an enveloping question. It's very wide open, I know. What is the best way in which to begin to develop an option game plan?
Well, I think the same way you develop a game plan is the same way you develop a game plan for any offense. Study the personnel, the base defense, the mixer defense, the blitz package, what they do on the hash marks, short yards, goal line, off the goal line, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And what I always did was I had 3 strategies. One was, okay, we're going to run and try to pitch the ball 5 or 6 times out of the first 10 plays. Or the second strategy was, okay, we're going to run the fullback inside 5 or 6 times in the first 10 plays. Okay. The third strategy was we're going to throw 4 or 5 option passes within the first 10 plays. And that was based on, what I felt the defense would do. And something else that I did that I learned a long time ago is I developed a script for every game based on my study of the defense. Just say, okay, if we get the ball on a 20, what am I going to do on first down, second down, third? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that way, what it would do would put my strategy into play and use the formations, off the hash and all that kind of stuff to really put everything in front of the defense to start with. So I could see what their reaction was going to be. So the script was really a good thing.
All right, Coach, let's get into a more strategic question here. I've been watching films of the Air Force Academy and their wishbone, flexbone package going back, I guess, over the last 10 years. And I noticed that teams will play their own base package one way, but then when they play the wishbone or flexbone, they will play it a different way, and they all seem to play it in a similar fashion. Do you see this in your years in coaching with the option?
Yes. And the reason you see that a lot, because it's so difficult for the defense a lot of times to prepare for an option team. Like when I was at Minnesota, we played Michigan one time when they were ranked third in the nation. We played them at Michigan, and we beat them. After the game was over, the defense coach, who was my friend, came over and said, "Coach, that's a great offense. We had such a difficult time preparing for it with our scout team." And so I think that's really a positive thing for the option offense. Is because just say you play 12 games, and 11 of them are against spread offensive team. And then you have your option concept. It's a completely different factor because you got to worry about man coverage, because if you have man coverage, who's got the quarterback? Like one of my biggest goals was, like when I was coaching Mississippi, we went to the Liberty Bowl. We were 9-2 that year and had a big old quarterback that was 6'4", about 210 pounds, and the fastest he ever ran was a 4.8. But you know what was one of our biggest plays on third down in 6, 7, 8 was an option play. And the reason it was because at that time, two deep man coverage was the basic defense for third and long and stuff. And then he kept the ball and would run it for 5, 6, 7, 8 yards and get a first down. So that was neat.
Because you've basically outnumbered the defense by using their own scheme virtually against them.
That's right, because they really didn't have anybody for the quarterback. And so a lot of times I would call a play knowing that the quarterback, and also we coached it, in preparation that, okay, this is going to happen. You're going to run the ball for a first down. And it's one biggest question I get from a lot of coaches. What's the number one thing for, a good option quarterback? One is the ability to make a decision. Two, you like to have a kid that can run 40, 50, 60 yards for a touchdown. But basically what you want is a kid, if it's third down and 8, and you run an option play and he keeps it, he can make a first down. To me, that's the critical parts.
Speed to the corner and speed kills.
Yeah, just let him run and get that first down.
What do you consider to be the most important block to make on an option play to get positive yardage?
To block the play side linebacker, to keep him from getting in where he can come to the quarterback, go to the pitch, and, he's kind of free, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And once you seal the play side linebacker, it puts a lot of pressure on the secondary, because now they have to defeat the blocks from the tight end or the slot back and the wide receiver. It opens up the option alley.
We're talking with the old option dinosaur, Larry Beckish from Beaufort, South Carolina. You're listening to Coach's Corner on the CompuSports Radio Network. Back after this message. book the trap option 40 plus 60 equals option, available now at CompuSportsMedia.com. And we have Coach Beckish on the line now. Coach, what is the most difficult block that you're going to ask a player to make for a positive play in the option offense?
The most difficult blocks are for the receivers to block in the secondary. And the way it used to be, like in right formation, the flanker would block the corner. The tight end would release and block the strong safety. In cover two, the tight end would go out and block the corner. Flanker would set up the corner and go block the safety. And those are really, really difficult things because you need to properly coach how to block one-on-one, and what my coaching points were for receivers all the time. Okay, if you're the flanker and you've got a defensive back 6-7 yards off of you, and an option play is called, say if he's 7 yards off you, you go 1, 2, 3, and you break down and get with a good base, and you put your inside foot right down his middle. You want to block him to the inside. And if you miss him, you want to push him back to the inside. But that's really, really difficult. But what really can set the thing up is use the same technique for a deep pass route. 1, 2, 3, break down, kind of show you're going to block, and then peel out toward the boundary and run down the boundary. I'd love to do that today.
Does this technique hold true regardless of the depths of the defensive backs that you're trying to block?
Well, the difficult part is, against press corners and stuff like that. What I would do different today, like at a Twins, I would take the slot and come off 1-2 steps and go kick out the press corner and let the outside receiver drop a step, then go block the strong safety. It was a cross-block type thing, you know what I mean? Because for the first part of it, what the defensive back's going to think, is it a pass or is it a run? Is it a pass or is it a run? And like I keep saying in the option principle, you want to use that same look to block on the option and also throw a pass off of it.
Now, in your slot progression that you were just talking about, you still have the same thing with the slot receiver coming down and to kick out that outside defensive back and then run by him once he gets a little too greedy.
Right. I think you could have a wonderful, wonderful passing game off of that. Years ago when we ran the stuff, that's what the tight end was told, and that's what the flanker was told to throw passes. And, I didn't use the crossing block at that time, but I would do that today as I watch more. Like almost every year, Bobby Johnson, who's head coach at Vanderbilt, that I coach at Clemson, I ask him to send me some game DVD so I can study college football today. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And as I watch these DVDs, I said, oh, I do this. Oh, I do that on 68. I'd run 68G crack here. So it's really interesting, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's really, really interesting. So that's my thoughts.
How important now do you consider play-action passes out of the option?
Critical. Like I keep talking to coaches, about the option principles, is that to really make, for the first couple instances, both plays look exactly the same. And I think play-action passes are really, really necessary. Like I sent Nick something I would do a little bit different today out of the shotgun, and I'd have some really neat things to do, and also for the first time throw a screen pass off an option look, a wide screen pass, a bubble type screen, that I think would really create problems for a defense, because the other defenders say, I got the quarterback, I got the dive back, you know what I mean?
I think that would cause problems for game commentators too.
Well, it might. I hope so.
Coach, you and I have talked off the air for quite some time, and you and I agree on a number of things, including this particular point, and that's how many different formations that you can run the same type of option offense out of.
Well, I think you can use as many formations as you want, but basically what you need to do is do a great job of motioning different people. And you also need the fullback set behind the quarterback, whether the quarterback's under the center or he's in a shotgun. Then motion other people to come around to be the pitchback and stuff like that, because the dive back is critical. And one of the most important things about the fullback is his willingness to play without the ball, to really, really sell the defense, I got the ball. And so that mesh between the quarterback and the fullback is truly, truly critical. And that was one great thing about the trap option, is the fact that the fullback ran straight up over the center. So the mesh between the quarterback and the fullback was really tight, which was completely different than the inside veer or the outside veer, where the quarterback had to stretch the ball out and the defense could easily see it.
And this is on top of running full speed laterally.
Well, yeah. And the other thing I've always told fullbacks and guys who coach the fullbacks is when you run a dive play in the 0-1 hole, you don't want to go 100 miles an hour. You want to go 85 miles an hour, so you get a little bit of and make a cut when you have to. One thing that was really good, was very unique in our trap option, is how many plays we had. Like, we were trapping a lineman to the right, and the fullback would run up to just right and break back to the left because there was a huge hole where the guard pulled. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that was so important to run 85 miles an hour and not 100 miles an hour on dive plays. And one of the greatest dive backs I've ever had, you might have heard of this guy, at East Carolina, was a kid named Ernest Biner.
Absolutely.
He was a wonderful dive back. He was a wonderful dive. And I got emails from him now that he's with the Titans and said, Coach, I really appreciate you making me a hard running back.
Yes, you've got to love that.
Yeah.
We're talking with Larry Beckish from Beaufort, South Carolina. You know him best as the All Option Dinosaur. You're listening to Coach's Corner on the CompuSports Radio Network. Having a great time talking with Larry Beckish, the All Option Dinosaur. Coach, what is your belief about personnel changes and keeping people fresh, especially at the skilled positions?
Well, I think that's necessary, and you can tell that by practice. But what I would do, and what I've done in the past, is not make personnel changes too much, because then the defense makes changes, and what it causes you to do is have to apply thoughts to a whole lot of different defensive concepts. Like I was saying, when I was at Minnesota, we went to a one-back, the wishbone, out of our I formation, but we kept the personnel the same. But the things were simple. Our plays were basically simple. There were no major changes. And then after Coach Holtz left to go to Notre Dame, John Gutekunst became the head coach, and then he wanted to go to 3 wide receivers and so forth and so on. And when we did, what happened when we went to the one-back set with 3 wide receivers, we saw nickel defenses. Things were different. And I just thought by using the players who were on the field, on basic offensive starters, using them for different formations, really, really helped. Now, that's just my thought now. Maybe if I was coaching, it might be different, but that's what I feel. And I think the same thing. Like you want to play a fullback, if you run 70 offensive plays, you probably need 2 fullbacks to help you. If you run 70 offensive plays in the game, you probably need 1 or 2 receivers to help the starters. I just think that's very, very important. That's the thing Coach Holtz always brought up.
All right, Coach, here's our last question for this program. What is the most important thing that you found in making sound fundamental football players?
The most important thing, whether it's offense or defense, the most important thing is the first step. Like an offensive lineman, say an offensive tackle, has to reach a 5 technique. The most important thing is to take the first step. If the fullback's running a dive play, like out of the trap option, midline freeze option, his first step is critical. The quarterback's first step to have the perfect mesh is critical. A receiver with a press corner lined up on him, his first step is critical. And I think for a defensive back, when the ball snapped, that his first step is critical. Or a linebacker's first step is critical. And the second most critical thing is coaching a kid's eyes, so he really feels what he needs to look at instead of looking at everything, that he knows exactly what I have to focus my eyes on.
Coach, I've had a great time, and we'd love to have you back.
Well, anytime, because I want every coach to be successful. Like I've told this year, I wrote an article that with this upcoming season, that if the public school, high schools in Beaufort County don't win a state championship, I'm going to sue them for breaking my heart. That's fair, isn't it?
That's an outstanding idea. I don't know why I didn't think about that with this high school up here.
Well, that's great motivation. Like I told Dabo Sweeney when I met him way back last February and told him, I was an old Clemson coach, and I said, Clemson hasn't won the ACC in 15 years, so if you don't win it this year, I'm going to sue you for breaking my heart. And you know what he said?
What did he say?
He said, that's a good reason for me to win.
They came close.
Yeah. Other guys I've coached that are head coaches now, like Bobby Johnson at Vanderbilt, Anthony Jones at Alabama A&M and stuff, I always write to them that I'm going to sue them if they don't win the conference championship for breaking my heart. Because I love these guys. I know what they do so well. And I like their approach to the game and stuff. I like the fact that some of these schools aren't football factories. One thing I love about Vanderbilt, it's an academic factory.
Yes, they are.
And that's really, and to me, that's a very important thing.
The Trap Option, 40 plus 60 equals option, written by Larry Beckish, the old option Dinosaur, available right now on CompuSportsMedia.com. Thank you, sir, for coming back onto the show.
Okay.
For the rest of you, I will be right back with some closing comments right after this. There are all sorts of materials up there on the CompuSports Media Exchange. For example, like our guest today, Larry Beckish, and others like Jerry Campbell, Bob Trotman in his book, The Master Defense. If you have material out there, and you've got up there on the CompuSports Media Exchange, and you'd like to talk, hey, drop me an email, John at CompuSportsRadio.com, and let's talk some football. Check out our partner program called Tech Talk, also available up on CompuSports Radio, where Nick and I talk about all sorts of software and hardware issues that you coaches may be having, and we talk about some of the software available at CompuSports Media. A big thank you to the old option dinosaur, Larry Beckish from Beaufort, South Carolina, for talking option football with us today, and of course his book, The Trap Option, 40 plus 60 equals option, available right now on the CompuSports Media Exchange. Coach's Corner is an Abundant Harvest production on the CompuSports Radio Network. I'm John Anderson. We'll see you next time.